The courtroom was full. Some people whispered. Some just stared. But all eyes were on one woman, Maya Daniels. She sat quietly in the corner, wearing a plain black dress. Her hands were calm, resting on her lap. Her eyes, though, were sharp, very sharp. But no one noticed. To everyone there, she looked like just another poor woman in trouble. Someone weak. Someone easy to blame. Across the room stood Officer Brad Collins, a white police officer with a clean uniform and a proud smile. He looked confident, even relaxed. He had done this before. He was used to people listening to him. After all, he was the law. At least, that's what he thought. The judge walked in. "All rise," the clerk said loudly. Everyone stood. Then the trial began. Brad pointed at Maya. She attacked a store owner. She stole money. She resisted arrest, he said. His voice was strong, full of fake pain. She almost broke my arm, he added. I had to use force to stop her. People in the courtroom gasped. The judge nodded. Maya said nothing. Brad held up pictures, fake ones. He showed bruises on his arm. These were from her, he lied. She's dangerous. She needs to be locked up. Still, Maya didn't speak. Her lawyer was weak, scared even. He didn't ask the right questions. He didn't fight for her. Everyone began to believe the cop. She's just another angry black woman. Someone whispered. She's guilty. Look at her. So calm. It's scary, another person said. But Maya heard everything. And she remembered. She remembered the night Brad pulled her over. For no reason. He said she looked suspicious. He searched her bag without asking. He took her phone. Then he smiled and said, "No one's going to believe you. Not here." He was right. In this courtroom, filled with people who didn't know her, Brad looked like a hero. And Maya, she looked like a silent criminal. But Maya wasn't just anyone. She had faced worse, much worse. Still, she waited. Then Brad made a mistake. He smiled at Maya in court, a quick, smug smile. Only she saw it. He thought he had won. He thought she was weak. But that smile, that was the last thing he should have done. Maya looked up, just for a second. And in that moment, her eyes changed. Not angry, not scared. Focused, cold, like a soldier. Nobody saw that. But something had changed. After the court break, Maya stood up. She walked outside slowly, like nothing had happened. But once outside, she walked to a small bench and pulled out a hidden phone from her shoe. A backup. One Brad didn't find. She made a short call. 1 ring. 2 rings. Then someone picked up. She said only one word. Activate. Then she hung up. No one heard it. No one knew what it meant. Back inside, Brad laughed with another officer. Easy win, he said. She didn't even speak. This is over. But it wasn't over. Not even close. Maya sat down again, calm as ever. The judge returned. More witnesses came. All said bad things about her. All lies. Maya listened. Every word. She watched every movement. She studied the room, the exits, the cameras, like she had done many times before. Because Maya wasn't just a quiet woman. Before this courtroom, before this case, Maya had another life. One she never talked about. She had trained in places most people had never even seen on a map. She had survived battles where others didn't. She had moved like a ghost, fought like a storm, and saved lives no one ever knew were in danger. She was a Navy SEAL, one of the best. But no one in the courtroom knew that. Not yet. Because Maya had learned something long ago. Sometimes silence is louder than shouting. Sometimes the best strike is the one they never see coming. And now, the strike was coming. But Brad Collins had no idea. He thought this was his courtroom, his story. But he was wrong. This was Maya's story. And it was just beginning. The courtroom was full. Some people whispered. Some just stared. But all eyes were on one woman, Maya Daniels. She sat quietly in the corner, wearing a plain black dress. Her hands were calm, resting on her lap. Her eyes, though, were sharp, very sharp, but no one noticed. To everyone there, she looked like just another poor woman in trouble. Someone weak, someone easy to blame. Across the room stood Officer Brad Collins, a white police officer with a clean uniform and a proud smile. He looked confident, even relaxed. He had done this before. He was used to people listening to him. After all, he was the law. At least, that's what he thought. The judge walked in. "All rise," the clerk said loudly. Everyone stood. Then the trial began. Brad pointed at Maya. She attacked a store owner. She stole money. She resisted arrest, he said. His voice was strong, full of fake pain. She almost broke my arm, he added. I had to use force to stop her. People in the courtroom gasped. The judge nodded. Maya said nothing. Brad held up pictures, fake ones. He showed bruises on his arm. These were from her, he lied. She's dangerous. She needs to be locked up. Still, Maya didn't speak. Her lawyer was weak, scared even. He didn't ask the right questions. He didn't fight for her. Everyone began to believe the cop. She's just another angry black woman, someone whispered. She's guilty. Look at her, so calm. It's scary, another person said. But Maya heard everything, and she remembered. She remembered the night Brad pulled her over. For no reason. He said she looked suspicious. He searched her bag without asking. He took her phone. Then he smiled and said, "No one's going to believe you. Not here." He was right. In this courtroom, filled with people who didn't know her, Brad looked like a hero. And Maya, she looked like a silent criminal. But Maya wasn't just anyone. She had faced worse. Much worse. Still, she waited. Then Brad made a mistake. He smiled at Maya in court, a quick, smug smile. Only she saw it. He thought he had won. He thought she was weak. But that smile, that was the last thing he should have done. Maya looked up, just for a second. And in that moment, her eyes changed. Not angry, not scared. Focused, cold, like a soldier. Nobody saw that, but something had changed. After the court break, Maya stood up. She walked outside slowly, like nothing had happened. But once outside, she walked to a small bench and pulled out a hidden phone from her shoe. A backup. One Brad didn't find. She made a short call. 1 ring. 2 rings. Then someone picked up. She said only one word. Activate. Then she hung up. No one heard it. No one knew what it meant. Back inside, Brad laughed with another officer. Easy win, he said. She didn't even speak. This is over. But it wasn't over. Not even close. Maya sat down again, calm as ever. The judge returned. More witnesses came. All said bad things about her. All lies. Maya listened. Every word. She watched every movement. She studied the room, the exits, the cameras, like she had done many times before. Because Maya wasn't just a quiet woman. Before this courtroom, before this case, Maya had another life. One she never talked about. She had trained in places most people had never even seen on a map. She had survived battles where others didn't. She had moved like a ghost, fought like a storm, and saved lives no one ever knew were in danger. She was a Navy SEAL, one of the best. But no one in the courtroom knew that. Not yet, because Maya had learned something long ago. Sometimes silence is louder than shouting. Sometimes the best strike is the one they never see coming. And now, the strike was coming, but Brad Collins had no idea. He thought this was his courtroom, his story, but he was wrong. This was Maya's story, and it was just beginning. Maya Daniels sat alone on her apartment floor. Around her were papers, flash drives, and one small photo in her hand, a photo of her old team. 6 people stood in that picture, wearing military gear, their faces half covered in dirt and sweat. Behind them, the flag waved in the hot desert wind. That photo was taken after a mission no one knew about. A mission that had saved 30 lives, but was never reported. Maya looked at the photo for a long time. Then she closed her eyes, and the memories came back. 10 years earlier, a cold morning in Afghanistan, Maya's boots hit the ground fast and quiet. She moved like smoke. She and her team had just landed near a small village held by enemies. Their mission: rescue a kidnapped U.S. journalist and get out without being seen. Maya was the team's lead scout. She had eyes like an eagle and nerves like steel. She had spotted traps others missed, heard danger before it came, and fought enemies with speed and silence. That day, her team was outnumbered, but they made it out alive because of Maya. Without her, we would have all been dead, her commander once said. But Maya never bragged. She just did her job, then moved to the next mission. Quiet, focused, professional. Until one day, something broke inside her. It was her final mission. A child, a little girl, caught in the middle of a gunfight. Maya ran into the open to save her, bullets flying around her. She got the girl out, but not without scars, both on her body and in her heart. That was the day Maya knew she was done. She left the military with honor, but never told anyone who she really was. She wanted a quiet life, a fresh start, a peaceful world far away from war. But the world didn't stay peaceful for long. Now, back in the present, Maya opened a black case. Inside were her medals, IDs, and a sealed envelope marked "Tilpe's Secret." She hadn't looked at it in years. She took a deep breath and opened it. Inside was a mission report from her final deployment. She read the words slowly, remembering everything. And she realized something. That same journalist she saved, his name was Eli Carter. He now worked for a major news channel. Still active, still powerful. She opened her phone and called. It rang once, twice. "Maya?" Eli answered, shocked. "Is it really you?" "I need your help," she said. "I'm in trouble, and I have proof. But I need your voice." "Say no more," Eli said. "I owe you my life. I'll do whatever it takes." Maya sent him the file, the one she called "The Cop's Dirty Game." Meanwhile, Brad Collins sat in his car, staring at his phone. He had read Maya's military record. She wasn't weak. She wasn't simple. She was a weapon. And he had poked the wrong one. He began to panic. He called his lawyer. "Can she do anything with this?" he asked. "The military stuff." The lawyer paused. "If she has proof you framed her, and that she's a veteran, she could destroy your whole career." Brad's hands began to shake. He looked around the parking lot. Every face made him nervous now. Then he made a decision. He called a hacker he once paid to delete evidence. "Wipe her record," he ordered. "Make her disappear." But it was too late. Maya had already sent backups to people she trusted. Later that night, Maya met with a woman in a small diner on the edge of town. She wore sunglasses, a hat, and kept her head low. The woman's name was Sergeant Leela Monroe, Maya's old teammate. "You really want to do this?" Leela asked. Maya nodded. "He thinks I'm alone, but I'm not. I need your help, one last time." Leela smiled. "You saved me once. I haven't forgotten." They leaned in and talked for an hour. Plans, proof, moves and countermoves. Maya wasn't just fighting for herself now. She was fighting for every person that Brad Collins had hurt and silenced. She wouldn't go back to being silent. Not anymore. The next morning, Eli Carter's voice echoed through TV screens across the city. "This is a breaking story," he said. "A former Navy SEAL has come forward with shocking claims against a decorated police officer, including evidence of false arrests and planted proof." Pictures showed Maya in uniform. Clips showed the courtroom. And the story spread like fire. People started talking, commenting, sharing. Some were angry, some were shocked, but no one was silent. Maya's hidden past was no longer hidden. And Brad Collins, he was running out of places to hide. Maya stood by her apartment window, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. The news story had gone viral. Her face was everywhere, on screens, in headlines, and across social media. Some people supported her. Others doubted her. But now, the world was watching. She wasn't invisible anymore. At the police station, Officer Brad Collins was losing control. He slammed his hand on his desk. "Why is this happening?" "Shut it down," he shouted at his chief. The chief looked tired. "It's too late, Brad. There's a federal investigation now. The press is crawling all over us." Brad's phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. "You're not safe in the dark anymore." His hands trembled. He deleted the message, but the fear stayed. He knew what that meant. Maya was coming for him. And this time, not just with words. Meanwhile, Maya met with Ava James and Lila Monroe in a quiet motel room far from the city. Maps were spread out on the table. Photos, names, case files, and surveillance screenshots. Ava pointed at a list of names. "These are people Brad framed. Some are in prison. Some are missing." Owen, Ava paused, was found dead in police custody. No camera footage. No explanation. Maya clenched her jaw. "We bring the truth. Every piece. Every voice." Leela tapped the map. "We need to hit his support system. The ones who protect him from inside. Judges. Detectives. Dirty lawyers." Ava nodded. "Good news is we already have 3 who are scared. They're willing to talk, off the record." Maya stepped forward and looked at a printed photo of Brad. "He thought I was just another woman. He forgot I'm trained to break systems." That night, the plan began. Maya moved through the city like a ghost. Covered in a hoodie, a mask, and gloves, she made her way to the courthouse parking lot. Cameras were already hacked by Ava. She placed a small tracker under Brad's car. Then she dropped a hidden microphone near his locker at the station. She wasn't going to attack him. She was going to expose him, piece by piece. At the same time, Eli Carter aired part 2 of his report. "We've now spoken to 2 former officers," he said on TV, "who admit Brad Collins was known for using fake evidence. They say complaints were ignored. The system protected him." One officer's voice played with his face blurred. "We all knew he crossed lines, but he made the department look good. They didn't want trouble." The public reaction exploded. Protests began outside the station. Signs read, "Justice for the silenced. Truth over badges. We believe Maya." Inside his apartment, Brad sat alone. His eyes were red. His hair messy. He hadn't slept. He scrolled through old texts on his phone. Messages from the store owner he paid off. Threats he sent to past victims. Hidden photos. Then, his screen went black. A message popped up. "Everything you've hidden is now in the open." He dropped the phone. Someone had hacked him. Maya's team had all the proof now, and she was ready to use it. The next morning, Brad rushed to a private lawyer. "You have to stop this," he shouted. The lawyer shook his head. "You should have come clean, Brad. There's a warrant out for your arrest. They're gathering witness statements as we speak." Brad froze. He wasn't the hunter anymore. He was the hunted. Back in the motel, Maya and Leela listened to a live call between Brad and his partner Jake, thanks to the bug in the locker. Brad's voice was weak. "She's tearing everything apart, man. She's not just some woman. She's dangerous. We need to disappear. Burn everything." Maya's face didn't change, but Leela grinned. He's scared now. Ava printed out the full call transcript. "This is all going to the FBI tomorrow morning, along with the files. Once they get this, it's over." Maya nodded, but her voice was cold. "Not yet. There's one more thing I need to do. Later that evening, Maya walked into the police memorial park, where families came to honor fallen officers. She wore no disguise. She walked straight up to the wall of names and placed a flower. Behind her, cameras clicked. Reporters gasped. She turned to them and spoke clearly. I served my country with pride. I saved lives in silence. But now I speak for those who can't. Brad Collins tried to break me, like he broke others. But he forgot. Some people are trained to rise, no matter what. The video went viral within minutes. Maya wasn't just a victim anymore. She was a symbol. Back at the station, Brad watched the footage with shaking hands. His partner Jake stood in the doorway. She's not stopping. Brad looked up. Then I'll stop her. Jake shook his head. No, you won't. I'm turning myself in. I won't go down with you. And just like that, Brad was alone. Truly alone. Rain poured down on the city as Officer Brad Collins sat in his dark apartment. His phone buzzed again and again. Messages from reporters, threats from strangers, and now, silence from his own department. His world was falling apart. He used to feel untouchable, a man in uniform, respected and feared. Now he was hiding behind locked doors and pulled curtains, but hiding wouldn't save him anymore. At the FBI office, Agent Rebecca Hall placed a thick folder on the desk. This is everything we have on Officer Brad Collins, she said. The room was quiet as her team reviewed the files. Photos of bruised victims, records of missing body cam footage, bank transfers to fake witnesses, statements from former officers. And now, the voice recordings. The phone call between Brad and Jake was the final nail. Burn everything, Brad had said. She's tearing me apart. Rebecca nodded. We move tonight. At the motel, Maya sat quietly with her hands folded. Ava James walked in holding her laptop. They're moving on, Brad. It's official. Maya didn't smile. She didn't celebrate. She just breathed out, slow and steady. Good, she said softly. But inside her heart, there was pain. Because this fight wasn't just about one bad cop. It was about every moment she had stayed quiet, every person who had been hurt and forgotten. Every time the system failed the innocent. In a small apartment across town, an old man named Mr. Lewis watched the news. He held a photo of his son, a young man who had once been arrested by Brad Collins. His son never made it out of jail. Mr. Lewis wiped his tears. She's doing what I couldn't, he whispered. She's bringing him down. Night fell. Blue and red lights flashed across the street as FBI agents surrounded Brad's apartment building. Officers moved in, silent and fast. They knocked hard. Brad Collins, come out now. Hands where we can see them. Inside, Brad sat frozen. He had no more lies, no more tricks. He opened the door slowly, hands raised. His face was pale, his eyes hollow. The cuffs clicked. It was over. The news spread fast. Officer Brad Collins arrested on multiple charges. FBI confirms pattern of abuse and corruption. Veteran Navy SEAL's brave stand brings justice. Maya watched the headlines with a quiet heart. She had waited so long for this moment. Not for revenge, but for truth. The next morning, Maya stood outside the courthouse. This time, she wasn't alone. Protesters stood with her. Survivors of Brad's abuse held signs. Reporters waited for her words. She stepped up to the mic. I was told to stay silent. I was told that no one would believe me. But I believed in the truth, and I believed in the voices of others who were silenced. Today, we take the first step toward justice. One man has fallen, but many still hide behind badges, suits, and silence. This is not the end. This is only the beginning. Inside a prison cell, Brad sat alone. No phone, no badge, no power. He stared at the wall, and for the first time in years, he felt what his victims had felt. Fear, helplessness, shame. He thought of Maya. He remembered her face in the courtroom, calm, quiet, deadly. He thought she was weak, but she was stronger than anyone he'd ever met. She wasn't just a woman. She was justice. Back at the motel, Maya packed her things. Her mission was done. Ava walked in. "You're not staying." Maya smiled softly. "No, the fight will continue, but others will carry it forward. I need to go find peace again." Leela hugged her tight. "We'll watch your back, always." Maya walked out into the morning sun. Free, stronger, seen. Somewhere across the country, a young girl sat watching Maya's speech online. She had once been hurt by someone in power. Now she felt hope. She whispered to herself, "One day, I'll be strong like her." Maya walked through a quiet town far from the city. No cameras, no reporters, no eyes watching her every step. She finally had peace, or so she thought. It had been 3 weeks since Brad Collins was arrested. The news had moved on to other stories. But for Maya, the fight still echoed in her mind. Every night, she woke up in sweat, not from fear, but from memory. She saw the courtroom. She saw the jail cell. She saw the faces of people who had suffered and stayed silent, just like she once had. And she couldn't stop thinking, what if there are more like Brad, still out there? One evening, Maya sat in a small cafe with her laptop. Her hands hovered over the keyboard. She wasn't searching for peace anymore. She was searching for patterns. Patterns of power. Patterns of abuse. Patterns of silence. And soon, she found one. A judge from the same courthouse where she was framed, Judge Harlan Gray, had a strange record. Too many rushed cases, too many innocent people denied a fair hearing. And oddly, too many cases connected to Brad Collins. Maya's heart began to race again. She opened a new folder on her laptop. The Next Fight, she named it. Back in the city, Ava James was working late when her phone buzzed. A message from Maya. "Found something. I'm not done yet." Ava shook her head and smiled. She never rests. She called Leela Monroe. "Maya's back in," Ava said. Leela sighed. "I thought she'd stop." "She won't stop until they're all exposed." "Then I'm in too," Leela said. At a quiet meeting spot outside town, Maya met with Ava and Leela again. The map came out. The files spread across the table. This time, the name at the center wasn't Brad. It was Judge Gray. Ava tapped the documents. This man covered up Brad's lies. He signed off on false warrants, blocked complaints, buried evidence. Maya nodded. "He's next." But Leela leaned back. "He's more powerful, more connected. If we go after him, they won't just send hate mail. They'll send people." "I'm not afraid of them," Maya said. Leela looked her in the eye. "I know you're not. That's what scares me." A week later, Maya sat in the courtroom again. This time, she wasn't the defendant. She sat in the audience, watching Judge Gray work. He moved fast. No emotion. Rushed sentences. Cold decisions. Maya leaned over to Ava. "Watch his face. He doesn't see people. He sees files." Ava whispered, "We need more than feelings. We need facts." Maya smiled, already working on it. Outside the courthouse, Maya interviewed people who had stood before Judge Gray. A young mother who lost her kids because of one mistake. An innocent man who spent 2 years in jail without trial. A boy who was locked up without legal help. One by one, they told their stories. One by one, they cried. Maya wrote every word down. Then, she visited a local journalist she trusted. Her name was Samantha Reyes. Maya handed her the file. "You asked for something real. This is it." Samantha looked at the folder and frowned. "This could shake the whole system." "Then shake it," Maya said. Soon, Samantha's report hit the news. The judge behind the curtain, it read. Inside were stories of injustice, silence, and broken families. And one quote from Maya: "The courtroom should protect the weak, not protect the powerful." The news spread fast, again. This time, Judge Gray didn't hide. He went on TV. He smiled calmly and said, "These claims are lies from someone who wants fame. I've done nothing wrong." But Maya was ready. She released the audio. A private meeting between Gray and Brad, where Gray laughed and said, "We take care of our own, Brad. Just make sure you keep it quiet." That clip broke everything. Public pressure exploded. Protests returned. This time, outside the courthouse. Judge Gray was placed under investigation. Back in her room, Maya looked out the window again. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't angry. She just felt tired. Leela entered with coffee. "You okay?" Maya nodded slowly, just wondering how many more there are. Leela sat beside her. "You can't fix the whole world." Maya looked at her. "But I can try." That night, Maya got a message on her private phone. A young girl, maybe 18, had found her online. She wrote, "They hurt me too. I saw your video. You made me feel brave. I want to speak out, but I'm scared. What do I do?" Maya stared at the message for a long time. Then she typed back, "You don't have to speak alone. I'm with you." The next morning, Maya stood outside the courthouse again. This time, the young girl stood beside her, holding Maya's hand. One voice had become two. And in the crowd behind them, many more had come. Victims, survivors, believers. The echo of Maya's fight had become a movement. And it wasn't stopping. The courtroom was full. But this time, Maya wasn't on trial. She stood at the front, not in fear, but in strength. The girl beside her, the one who had messaged her weeks ago, held a folded piece of paper. Her hands were shaking. Maya gave her a gentle nod. "You're not alone," she whispered. The girl stepped forward to the microphone. Her voice cracked as she began. "He told me no one would believe me, but I believe me now. And because of Maya, I found my voice." The room was silent. Then someone clapped. Then another. Then the entire room stood in support. Outside the courthouse, the crowd had grown. Signs filled the air. "We hear you, Maya. Truth can't be buried. Justice has a new name." Maya looked at the people. Some were victims. Some were supporters. Many were strangers. But today, they stood together. Inside his prison cell, Brad Collins watched the news on a small TV. He saw Maya. He heard the applause. And for the first time, he understood. She hadn't just destroyed him. She had started a wave, one that couldn't be stopped. Judge Harlan Gray, once confident and calm, now sat across from FBI agents in handcuffs. The evidence was overwhelming. The cover-ups, the connections to corrupt officers, the private deals that traded justice for favors. The system was starting to crack, all because one woman had refused to stay silent. Maya's story had reached every corner of the country. TV stations invited her. Radio hosts wanted interviews. Victims from other cities reached out, begging for help. But Maya said no to fame. She had other plans. She used her voice to build something new. The Echo Foundation, a group that gave legal help, mental support, and a platform to those silenced by the justice system. Leela became the director. Ava became the tech and security head. And Maya, she became the heart of it all. One day, while preparing for a community event, a boy approached Maya. He was maybe 12, wearing a backpack and holding a small notebook. "Are you the lady from the video?" he asked shyly. Maya knelt down. "Yes, I am." He held out his notebook. "I want to be brave too. Can I write about people like you one day?" Maya smiled. "Not just write about them. Be one of them." Months passed. Change came slowly, but it came. Police stations updated rules. Courts reopened old cases. Whistleblowers found courage. The truth, once buried, was now rising. One evening, Maya returned to the courtroom where it all began. She stood alone in the same spot where she was once framed. She closed her eyes and let herself feel it, the fear, the anger, the shame, and then the strength. She whispered to the empty room, "You didn't break me. You built the fighter inside me." Later that night, Maya stood on a rooftop with Ava and Leela. The city lights glowed below. "You ever miss the quiet life?" Leela asked. Maya thought for a moment, then said, "No, because even in quiet, I was still broken inside. Now I'm loud and whole." Ava raised a glass of water to the ones who rise. They all raised their glasses to the ones who rise. Back in her small apartment, Maya sat by the window like she always did. But this time, she wasn't watching for danger. She was watching the sunrise. A new day, a new chapter. She took out her journal and wrote, "I was once a shadow in a system that forgot me. But now, I'm the voice echoing in every courtroom, every protest, every broken soul who thought no one would ever care. I am not just a woman. I am not just a soldier. I am not just a victim. I am the storm that silence couldn't hold."